Court of Thorns and Roses, Fourth Wing, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, Quicksilver, and When the Moon Hatched. All trash. Feybound, The Spear Cuts Through Water, The Knight and the Moth, The Honey Witch, and Catabasis, all great. Why? Well, to put it very bluntly and very simply, romantasy is a portmanteau of the words romance and fantasy. The first 5 books that I listed are bad romance and bad fantasy. And the second 5 books that I mentioned are all good at romance or fantasy or sometimes both. There's your answer, but stick around and I'll explain why. Recently on this channel, I did a dedicated review of Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. And before I went into this book, something I didn't know about it was that it's a romance. I went into this book knowing as little as possible because Kuang is my favorite author and I wanted to be spellbound without having any real preconceived notions about its plot, its context, and its characters. It surprised me that this is, in effect, a romantasy book, but I don't like calling it that. And I didn't understand why. Because there are plenty of good romantasy books out there. I've talked about a lot of them a lot of the time. So why was I so apprehensive? Why did it feel weird to call this book a romantasy? Well, it hit me when I was making another video and I brought this book up. Catabasis isn't really a romantasy novel. It's a dark academia fantasy story, and it's a love story. That's the difference. I realized in that moment that most romantasy books, especially the more popular romantasy books like this thing behind me, they are not love stories. And as a romantic myself, I've always seen romance and love as relatively synonymous things. But most romantasy books deal in lust and spice. And that's nothing new, okay? I understand. You can go into the comments and tell me that romance books have always been spicy, bodice rippers, harlequin romances. I understand. I haven't read a lot of them. I haven't read any of them. But I am someone who has always enjoyed romantic subplots in the books I've read. I've read tons of fantasy novels that have romances, where the protagonist gets the girl, where 2 characters fall in love and get married. Fairy tale romances in fantasy. It's a thing that I'm a fan of. I really enjoy romantic stories. I am a romantic. I am someone who believes in love. I love love. I am in love. I respect love. And I want to see love in my stories. I also want to see spice. I'm not coming at this from a prudish angle, believe me. I am very unprudish. But something that frustrates me about so much romantasy, the most popular stuff, which is coincidentally the bad stuff, is that those books are not good fantasy and they're not good romance. But when I read Catabasis, I realized this is a love story. And that's rare in romantasy, even in the good stuff that I like and recommend. The other 4 books that I mentioned in the list of good romantasy books, there is love in them. They are better than the bad stuff because they understand romance a bit better, but even then, this is the GOAT right here. Catabasis is a book that understands love. R.F. Kuang wrote this book in part because she fell in love and got married, and she wanted to write about love, about 2 academics falling in love in hell itself. There is wisdom here. I think wisdom is a really key word. The authors who write the spicier, shallower, lustier, more toxic, popular romantasy stuff, authors like Rebecca Yarros and Sarah J. Maas, etc., these authors seem to lack wisdom from where I'm standing. Wisdom in understanding how love feels, what it looks like. I've said before in other videos that typically the good romantasy stuff is queer. And maybe I'm being biased here, but as a queer person in a queer relationship who spends a lot of time hearing straight people complain about their partners, queer people get love. But that's not to say straight people don't, because this is proof. R.F. Kuang is straight, I think. The romance in here is straight, and it is love. It is love all the way down. It's love. It is a romantic story. And let's look quickly at another straight romance. The Knight and the Moth is a romantasy book. It has some spice in it. It has some lust in it. It will satisfy people who enjoy that stuff, and I'm one of them. But it's also a story where two people have actual respect for each other. They are enemies to lovers in the same way that, well, any time that word is used, which is almost always incorrectly or at least exaggerated. Enemies to lovers just means two people who throw quips at each other sometimes and fold their arms and turn their backs on each other sometimes, and then end up kissing and fondling and enjoying each other's bodies, eventually. But in here, they also fall in love. This isn't just spice. It's not just enemies to lovers. It's not just ticking off those words that you see on TikTok, those words that you see in blurbs, or on those little postcard things you see in bookshops. No, this is love. It has all those things that you want on your tick sheet, and it has love. And it turns out you can have both. There could have been love in Fourth Wing. There could have been love in Quicksilver. With all of the kidnapping and the abusive, toxic men. Maybe not. Maybe not Quicksilver. Maybe not A Court of Thorns and Roses. Maybe not Fourth Wing. Maybe they're irredeemable. That's fine. There is no love in those books, but there is love here. Love, in part, demands respect. Mutual respect. And one of the big problems with all the popular romantasy stuff, all the stuff I've talked about here, one of the big problems is a lack of respect. I have said before, and I will keep saying, that the girlies who like the bad popular romantasy stuff, A Thing of Things and Things and Fourth Wing, they have a patriarchy kink. They enjoy being subdued. They enjoy being bound and tied, but not in a fun way. They are bootlickers who enjoy the taste of patriarchy's foot. This video is going to get demonetized. These books, though, are not attempting to show us real love, or romance even, despite the name romantasy. They're not offering you that. It's not false advertising. It's just toxic and gross, and I've talked about that plenty in other videos. But the good stuff is good because it provides you with respect. And I don't really understand why anyone would prefer to read A Thing of Things and Things over this, when this is a book that provides you with the check sheet of enemies to lovers and spice and hot men being hot. But that hot man is also a knight who demonstrates knightly qualities like chivalry and respect. He is a stereotypical knight in the way that we so often don't see. He is what a chivalrous man looks like. If you've ever wondered if there is such a thing as masculinity without the toxicity, because even I have gotten to a point of just thinking, you don't need to say toxic masculinity, you just need to say masculinity. It's all toxic, it's all terrible, men are terrible, patriarchy's bad, blah, blah, blah. But there is a difference between men and patriarchy. There is a man in this book who is written well. He demonstrates chivalry and respect. He falls in love and he shows it. That is positive masculinity. But then again, it's a trait that you could see in anyone. It doesn't necessarily have to be a masculine trait. The idea of showing someone respect, but also passion and lust and love. Anyone can do that. But still, when a man in a suit of armor does it, it's hot. I'm going to call that positive masculinity. Maybe I'm clutching at straws, but it's the best I can do. But these more popular books aren't just bad at fantasy world building, and I've talked about that enough at this point. They're also bad at romance. Again, they're not promising romance. They are offering spice to people who like patriarchy, whether they would ever admit it or not. The more popular books are bad because they don't demonstrate, understand, or provide romance. Because romance leads to love, and love demands respect. And, as The Knight and the Moth proves, a bit of chivalry. Because chivalry's hot. Respect is hot. When you have someone who respects you, gets to know you, talks to you like a human being, but also is hot and sweeps you off your feet and gives you a night that you'll never forget, it's even hotter because that person respects you. Maybe I'm too romantic. Maybe I enjoy love too much. But spice rings hollow to me. These books are romantic in the sense that they romanticize patriarchy. These books, however, and notice I've only talked about the straight ones because I've talked a lot about how great the queer ones are. These books do not have those qualities. These books show us how romance is done. These books demonstrate what love looks like, what a good man looks like, and how these good men who grow and change and develop and have actual arcs and are three-dimensional humans who are also men in suits of armor, they demonstrate what love looks like. They are not kidnappers who loom over tiny women, who take those women away from their homes and gaslight them and remove their agency and do all of the terrible, terrible things that have become toxic tropes of the genre. That doesn't happen in the good stuff. Also, I'm just going to throw this in here. I haven't actually mentioned When the Moon Hatched in any detail at all other than its name. And that's because the big problem with this book is that it's the worst written thing that's ever existed. No one has ever managed to write a worse bit of prose than Sarah A. Parker did here with this book. You can't read this book. It is impossibly pretentious. This is the single worst written thing I've ever read in my entire life. It is impassable. I think that's a word. You can't pass it. It's ridiculous. It's laughable. I've done a review of it and I should really do another one just to show you how awful the writing is. If you like the writing in this book, I will judge you. Gloves off. That is some bad taste. At the end of all of this, I am just left confused by why people enjoy the toxic stuff when they can have the good stuff. And they sacrifice nothing in doing so. You can swap out Fourth Wing for The Knight and the Moth. You get the enemies to lovers. You get the spice. It's all really hot. But the two characters are like the same height and they respect each other. And nobody kidnaps anyone. And nobody abuses anyone. It's actually nice. You gain so much and you lose nothing. Stop reading the bad stuff, my god. Popular romantasy's bad. Read all the other stuff. Read these. Read them now. They're really good. This is very, very cute and wholesome and lovely and sweet and sapphic. And this is A Court of Thorns and Roses if it was written well and was also queer. Stop reading the bad stuff. Take this away and put this there. Do that right now. Read a love story, please. I didn't plan this video out. Just a rant. Just a big ol' rant. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, well, you can also read my book. It's spooky season after all. Managing and Other Lies is a short story collection of disgusting queer horror stories, and I recommend you read these. They're gothic, they're dark, they're twisted, they're horrible, and I'm really proud of them. Go into the description, click the like button on your way down, and pick up a copy of this. Thank you. Also, if it wasn't for my patrons, this channel would not exist at all. So if you've enjoyed this video, if you like what I've had to say, if you love and respect women, well, you can support me on Patreon. Thank you. Subscribe for books.